Welcome to the deep dive. It is March 23, 2026, and today we are looking at a story that honestly starts with a pretty massive paradox.
Yeah, a really counterintuitive one for sure.
Right. So imagine you're a guy whose literal day job is designing nuclear reactors. An environment where the margin for error is basically zero.
Right, because one decimal point out of place and it's a catastrophe.
Exactly. So this guy's doing that, and then he drops everything to build artificial intelligence systems.
Hmm.
Systems that actually autonomously run massive corporate departments.
Which is a huge leap.
It's a massive leap. And then, and this is the crazy part, to make the paradox complete, this exact same AI founder now actively begs university students not to major in AI.
I mean, it sounds totally backwards, right? You have this wildly successful AI founder telling the next generation, avoid my field.
Yeah.
But when you actually dig into the mechanics of his journey and just the cold, hard reality of how this tech works today, it actually makes perfect sense.
It really does. So today, we are unpacking the playbook of Ahmad Obaidat. He is the founder of Aries AI. And I think if you're listening to this, whether you run a business or you're just, trying to figure out your own career right now, you're probably drowning in AI buzzwords.
Oh, absolutely. The noise in the market is just deafening right now.
It is. It feels like every day there's some new acronym that you're supposedly already behind on. So our mission today is to put a filter on that noise for you.
We've got this fascinating, really granular transcript of an interview with Ahmad, and we're going to use it to basically shortcut your path to understanding the bleeding edge of AI.
Right, moving past the hype to see how this is actually being deployed on the ground, like how it's saving businesses time and money right now. We're going to look at its specific products, Reach, Insight, and Console, and pull out some really actionable advice for aspiring entrepreneurs.
And this is such a critical conversation because the shift we're seeing, this move into what the industry calls agentic AI, it's not just like a software update, it's a complete reorganization of human labor.
Yeah, we're moving from AI as a tool to AI as an actual colleague. So let's look under the hood of that idea and start with his origin story. Because Ahmad doesn't start in Silicon Valley.
Right, not at all.
He starts out studying and working in nuclear engineering. He's worked with the Jordan Atomic Energy Commission. He works with an American company. He's dealing with, the physics of atoms and radiation shielding. And then right around 2014 or 2015, he makes this hard pivot into AI.
And to really grasp how wild that pivot is, you have to think about the Arab region back in 2014. I mean, AI wasn't a buzzword there.
Yeah.
It was barely even a whisper in academic circles. You couldn't just hop online and find a localized coding boot camp. It was basically a purely theoretical pursuit.
And the detail in the transcript that just blew my mind was his learning process. Like
Yeah.
today, if you want to learn to code, you just pull up a YouTube tutorial, right?
Yeah.
Or you ask a chatbot.
Yeah, it's instant.
But in 2014, Ahmad literally had to order physical printed books from Amazon, like heavy textbooks on programming languages like R and Python, statistical modeling, data science.
And then he just had to wait for them.
Right. He had to wait weeks for them to ship across the world to Jordan so he could sit down and teach himself.
I mean, that requires a level of intrinsic motivation that is just profound. He was operating in a total vacuum of local resources.
It's like trying to build a spaceship by mail ordering paper manuals. You read a chapter on propulsion, and then you wait a month for the next book to arrive and hope you didn't forget the map.
Exactly.
But this is where his entrepreneurial instinct kicks in. Because this massive pain point, this absolute lack of accessible educational resources in his region, it actually led to his first company.
Right. He built an educational technology platform called Unihance.
Yeah, he took his own agonizing struggle to learn tech and just turned it into a business to help other people learn it.
Which is really the classic origin story of the best founders, right? You don't start a company just because you want to be called CEO. You start it because you're so incredibly frustrated by a broken system that you just have to build the fix yourself.
Okay, but wait, I need to stop you there because I still don't fully buy that transition yet.
Okay, why not?
Well, nuclear engineering is about physical reality, right? Atoms, fluid dynamics, heavy hardware, concrete. And AI is entirely digital. It's code on servers. How does someone just jump from physical reactors to neural networks without getting massive whiplash? They seem totally disconnected.
What's fascinating here is that they aren't actually disconnected at all, not when you look at the foundational language of both of those disciplines.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you understand what nuclear physics actually is day to day, it isn't just staring at glowing rods. The strict, really mathematically rigorous foundation required for nuclear engineering is the exact perfect primer for the statistical backbone of machine learning.
So where's the actual overlap there?
It's all about probability. Nuclear physics relies heavily on statistical mechanics and predicting outcomes based on huge data sets of particle behavior. You're constantly calculating the exact probability of a neutron striking a nucleus.
No.
And machine learning, at its absolute core, is just applied statistics. It's taking historical data to predict a future outcome or classify a new piece of data.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
Right. His brain was already deeply wired for these exact mathematical structures. The complex matrices, the probabilistic modeling, that's what makes modern AI function. The medium changed from atoms to data points, but the underlying math was his native tongue.
So the math was the bridge. He already had the mental architecture.
Right.
But he doesn't just, stay a guy who writes code. He spends 11 years in the trenches.
Yeah, he's building algorithms, consulting for huge utility companies, telecom, finance.
Right. Governments across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the UK, even the U.S. State Department.
Yeah.
And through all that exposure, he has this massive entrepreneurial epiphany.
He realizes that being a brilliant AI programmer is fundamentally not enough.
Yeah, the transcript notes his realization that the real magic only happens when you combine an understanding of a specific business pain point with the actual technological growth of AI.
Which shifts him from being just a developer to a true AI entrepreneur.
He actually says he considers himself an entrepreneur by day and a student of AI by night. Because if you don't study it daily, you are instantly left behind.
And that dual identity is really the secret sauce. Because of his deep mathematical background and because he was building these systems a decade ago when they were just basic statistical models, he sees AI differently.
How so?
He doesn't see the current AI landscape as this sudden magical explosion. He sees it as a logical phased evolution. And understanding those phases is absolutely essential for you, the listener, to grasp where we are standing today.
Okay, let's break that down because the transcript splits this evolution into 3 eras. And I want to decode these buzzwords because people just throw around AI like it's a single monolithic brain.
Yeah, people forget that the foundation of AI isn't new at all. The algorithms and the statistical frameworks have literally been around since the 1950s.
Right, Alan Turing and those early computer scientists laid the groundwork decades ago. What we're experiencing right now is just the explosion of those early statistics evolving.
Exactly. Statistics evolved into machine learning, which deepened into neural networks, and then into what we call deep learning. The math was always there. We just finally got the computing power and the data to execute it at scale.
So let's talk about the modern explosion. Era 1. We can call this the conversational AI era. This is roughly the GPT-1 up to the GPT 3.5 phase, right? So like 2017 to early 2022. The transcript calls this the retrieval era. What was actually happening under the hood?
So in this era, large language models, or LLMs, were essentially just massive, incredibly fast pattern matching engines.
Like autocomplete.
Exactly. Hyper-advanced autocomplete. You give it a prompt, and it dives into its huge ocean of training data to retrieve the most statistically probable string of words to answer you. It was great for, writing a poem or drafting a generic email.
But the source highlights a major flaw here. It lacked true logic. Ahmad gives this great example. If you handed an Era 1 AI a complex Excel file or asked it to do multi-step math, it would confidently hallucinate. It would give you an entirely wrong answer with absolute certainty.
Which is wild, right? A supercomputer that can't do math.
Yeah. Why couldn't it do the math?
Because it wasn't actually doing math. It didn't know how to reason through a calculation. It was just retrieving text that looked like a mathematical answer based on patterns it had seen before.
So it was just mimicking.
Exactly. A highly articulate mimic, but with no foundational understanding of the logic it was mimicking. Which brings us to Era 2, reasoning AI. This is late 2022 and into 2023.
This is where things got really serious. The transcript introduces this concept called adaptive RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And honestly, that sounds like pure Silicon Valley jargon to me.
It does sound like jargon, but it's crucial. What actually happened in 2022 to give these models logic? Think of standard Era 1 AI as taking a closed book test. It only knows what it memorized during its training years ago.
Right, and if it doesn't know, it guesses, hence the hallucinations.
Exactly. Our RAG retrieval augmented generation gives the AI an open book. When you ask a question, the AI first queries a verified external database, retrieves the factual document, reads it, and then generates the answer based strictly on that document.
It fundamentally anchors the AI in reality, so it's not just guessing the next word anymore.
Right, and the adaptive part means it can break complex problems into chunks. If you ask a reasoning AI a hard math question about quarterly revenue, it doesn't guess. It actually writes a small piece of Python code in the background, runs that code to calculate the figures, checks its own work for errors, and then delivers the verified result.
So it developed a layer of step-by-step logic.
Right.
But then we hit Era 3, and here's where it gets really interesting. Era 3 is Agentic AI. This is the current frontier, and it's exactly where Ahmad's company, Aries AI, operates.
Right.
The source defines Agentic AI not just as a computer answering a question accurately, but as an independent agent that can execute multi-step tasks and workflows. Help me visualize that difference.
Okay, think about the progression. Conversational AI is like a really smart librarian. You ask for a book on a topic, and they hand you the most relevant book. They retrieve it.
Okay, got it.
But Agentic AI, that's not a librarian. That's an executive assistant. You tell the assistant, I need to know our Q3 performance compared to our top 3 competitors, and I need a strategy to address the gap.
Right.
The agent goes to the library itself. It checks out the books, reads them, synthesizes the financial data, writes a comprehensive report, formats it into a presentation deck, and emails it to your boss before you even pour your coffee. You gave it a goal, and it autonomously figured out the 10 steps to get there.
Wow. So we're moving from AI being a static tool you use like a calculator to AI being a dynamic colleague you manage. You don't micromanage its code, you just give it an objective.
That is the pivotal shift.
So if we accept that AI has evolved into this autonomous colleague, the immediate bottleneck isn't the AI's brain, it's its ears and hands, right?
Yeah.
Like how does a digital assistant actually interact with the messy physical reality of a restaurant or a retail store?
And that was the exact friction point Ahmad had to solve first.
Let's look at the first Aries AI product designed to solve this massive blind spot for businesses, which is customer feedback.
To really appreciate the solution here, we have to define the problem. For the last few years, the AI revolution has been heavily skewed toward massive enterprises, Fortune 500 companies with bottomless budgets.
Yeah, building custom internal tools. Meanwhile, small and medium-sized businesses, the SMBs, your local restaurants, retail stores, clinics, they were largely left out in the cold.
Totally. And specifically, they were left out when it came to customer experience, or CX, because the traditional ways a business gathers feedback are entirely broken.
I mean, think about your own life. When was the last time you happily clicked a link to fill out one of those long, tedious online surveys that a company emails you 3 days after you bought shoes?
Literally never. The friction is way too high. The response rates for those surveys are abysmal.
And the transcript notes, it's even worse for the younger demographic. Generation Z and Generation Alpha have absolute zero patience to type out a text survey or navigate complex drop-down menus on a clunky web form.
Right. If they have a bad experience, they don't fill out a contact us form. They just leave the store and never come back. Or worse, they pull out their phone, record a video complaining about you, and post it to TikTok.
So the business owner is flying completely blind. They're losing foot traffic, revenue is dipping, and they have absolutely no verifiable data as to why. Enter Aries Reach.
This is where it gets brilliant.
Ahmad looked at how human beings actually communicate today. We don't write long, formal emails to our friends anymore. We send voice notes. We talk to our phones. So Aries Reach is designed as a voice-first solution.
It's so frictionless. A customer goes to a restaurant or gets their car washed, and they just scan a simple QR code on the receipt or an acrylic stand on the table. A screen pops up with a single microphone button.
And they just press it and speak their mind, exactly like sending a WhatsApp voice memo. It takes 15 seconds.
But the recording itself isn't the product, right? A voicemail box doesn't help a busy manager. The real value is the multi-layered agentic AI analysis that happens the millisecond the customer hits send.
Yeah, the source breaks down this analysis into 3 distinct layers. First, it perfectly transcribes the audio into text. Second, and this is the wild part, it analyzes the tone of voice. How does an AI analyze tone?
It actually looks at the acoustic features of the audio file. It analyzes pitch, pacing, volume, inflection. It listens for specific auditory markers of frustration, anger, joy, hesitation, or sarcasm.
Which is crucial because text alone is often so ambiguous.
Exactly. If a transcription just says, oh, great service, it could be a genuine compliment, or it could be dripping with angry sarcasm because the waiter spilled soup on them. The tone analysis validates the actual sentiment behind the words.
And third, it understands the context. Ahmad says this system is operating at over 90% accuracy and understanding exactly what the customer actually means, regardless of how messy their sentence structure is.
Let's drill down into how it categorizes this messy data, because this is where traditional surveys fundamentally fail. A traditional survey forces you into preset boxes. Rate the food 1 to 5. Rate the cleanliness 1 to 5.
Right, but the real world doesn't fit neatly into those boxes.
Exactly. With Reach, a business can set those standard criteria in the background. The AI will automatically parse the customer's rambling voice note and extract the relevant ratings. But crucially, Reach features dynamic categorization.
The transcript gives a great example of this. Let's say a customer leaves a voice note saying, "The burger was amazing, the table was super clean, but honestly, the lighting in the dining room was so harsh and bright, it was giving me a headache. I couldn't relax."
A traditional survey system would literally throw that lighting comment into the digital trash because there's no pre-existing lighting checkbox in its database.
But the Aries Reach AI instantly creates an additional point category on the fly. It flags the dashboard and tells the manager, "Hey, we have a new variable you didn't even know to ask about harsh lighting." It reveals your blind spots.
And just as importantly, if someone accidentally presses the button and leaves a voice note of just, pocket friction or background traffic noise, the AI recognizes it as non-actionable and simply filters it out. It keeps the dashboard clean.
It goes even deeper than that, too. The system actually distinguishes between general feedback and an urgent claim. And this feels like a massive lifesaver for business owners.
Oh, it's a vital operational distinction.
Right. If I leave a voice note saying, "The fries were a bit salty today," that's general feedback. It goes into the data pool for weekly trends. The chef can look at it later.
Yeah.
But if I say, "I just paid for premium gas at pump 4, but the attendant gave me regular and I was overcharged," that is not a trend. That is an active burning fire.
And the AI instantly identifies that as a claim. It bypasses the general dashboard entirely and triggers a real-time notification directly to the relevant department. It literally pings the gas station manager's phone while the customer is still sitting on the lot.
The ability to intercept a grievance before the customer leaves the physical premises is the holy grail of customer service. When a customer is angry, they feel powerless. By intercepting it, you turn a guaranteed detractor into a loyal advocate simply by having a manager walk out, apologize, and fix it immediately.
You prove they were heard in real time.
So what does this actually look like for the CEO or the franchise owner who has, 20 branches across the city? They aren't listening to individual voice notes.
No, they have this incredible tree map dashboard. It's completely visual. Green means satisfied, yellow is neutral, red is critical. You pull up a screen on your iPad and see the real-time emotional state of your entire business footprint at a glance.
And we really have to emphasize the return on investment here. The sources highlight a staggering statistic. A single negative Google review can reduce foot traffic to a local business by up to 30%.
30%. That is the difference between staying open and going bankrupt for a small restaurant.
Absolutely. Aries Reach essentially acts as a highly accurate, infinitely scalable mystery shopper. Businesses used to pay tens of thousands of dollars to hire consulting agencies to secretly visit stores and write up clunky reports.
Now your actual customers are giving you richer, more honest, real-time qualitative data. It handles the issue internally, soothing the customer before they ever feel the need to go publicly vent on Yelp. It's basically reputation armor.
And it's not just about playing defense either. The interview details how they integrate this directly into marketing and loyalty programs to actually drive revenue.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
Yeah, if you leave a negative voice note, the AI can instantly ping you back via the store's loyalty app or SMS with a custom 15% discount on your next visit to apologize. But think about the flip side. If the feedback is glowing, if someone leaves a passionate voice note about how much they love the service, the system can automatically send a prompt asking, "We love this. Can we share your feedback?"
And if the user clicks approve, the AI automatically converts that positive audio into a user-generated content reel, complete with captions, ready for Instagram or TikTok. It's an automated marketing engine fueled by actual customer joy.
But wait, I have a practical pushback here.
Okay, what is it?
The Middle East, where this company operates heavily, is a massive melting pot of nationalities.
Yeah.
If I'm a customer in a busy coffee shop in Dubai, I might be speaking in a heavy Pakistani dialect of Urdu or Tagalog, or mixing Gulf Arabic with English slang in the exact same sentence. Isn't an AI going to just completely choke on that?
You'd think so, right? That is the exact friction point that kills most Western-built tech in diverse regions. But this is where the underlying translation engine of Aries Reach really flexes. The AI doesn't just do raw transcription, it translates dynamically based on context.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a customer can speak in Urdu, Tagalog, or a very specific, localized regional Arabic dialect. The AI understands the dialect, translates the core meaning, analyzes the sentiment, and then populates the manager's dashboard entirely in the manager's preferred language.
That is mind-blowing. So the customer speaks in their most comfortable native tongue, meaning they give richer, more honest feedback, and the manager reads the actionable insight in standard English or Arabic. Zero language barrier.
Exactly. It completely democratizes customer feedback across globalized workforces. The manager doesn't need to speak Urdu to know the customer was upset about the wait time.
Okay, so Reach handles external customer data beautifully. It's an elegant, frictionless solution. But that leads us to an even darker, scarier place for executives. What happens when a CEO needs to understand their own messy, chaotic, internal company data?
That is the domain of the next product discussed in the transcript, Aries Insight. And to truly understand why Insight is revolutionary, we have to talk about the absolute nightmare that is legacy enterprise data.
Nightmare is really the only word for it. Most companies are not running on one sleek, beautiful, modern database. Their data is heavily siloed across dozens of platforms.
Oh, everywhere.
The marketing team lives in Meta Ad Managers and HubSpot. Sales uses a cloud CRM like Salesforce. HR has their own payroll software. And then there's always that massive 20-year-old back-end ERP system sitting in a server room somewhere holding all the real financial data.
I like to imagine a company's collective knowledge as a massive, sprawling library. But every single department uses a completely different Dewey Decimal System. The books are written in different languages, and none of the librarians are allowed to talk to each other.
Exactly. And the columns in those old databases are named with arcane acronyms that only the developer who built it in 2004 understood, and that guy retired a decade ago.
Right. So normally, if a CEO has a seemingly simple question like, are our marketing dollars actually turning into profitable sales this quarter? They can't just type that into a search bar.
No, they have to initiate a massive internal administrative project. They request a report from the business intelligence or BI team. The BI team has to open support tickets, pull data scientists, wrangle Excel wizards.
They have to extract a CSV file from marketing, extract another from sales, try to clean the formatting, match up the dates, do VLOOKUPs until their eyes bleed. And maybe 5 to 7 business days later, they present a static PowerPoint slide to the CEO.
It's an agonizing bottleneck. And the fatal flaw of that bottleneck is time. By the time the CEO gets the answer to their question, the market has already moved. The opportunity is gone.
Aries Insight basically obliterates this bottleneck with what Ahmad calls speech to action. Insight is an AI agent that is securely integrated across all of those disparate, messy databases.
It reads the modern CRM, it reads the archaic ERP, it reads the marketing dashboards, and it requires absolutely zero technical experience from the user. You don't write SQL code, you don't build pivot tables, you literally just speak to it.
You interact with your massive enterprise data the exact same way you interact with a smart speaker in your kitchen when you ask for the weather.
In the interview, they detail the specific process. A CEO can just open the interface on their phone and ask out loud, what were my total leads from marketing last month compared to the actual closed deals by the sales team, and what is the cost per acquisition broken down by region?
And behind the scenes, the Insight agent maps the relationships between the messy back-end systems. It figures out which cryptic column in the 20-year-old database corresponds to the modern marketing data. It writes the complex queries, executes them, does the math, formats the result, and instantly generates a highly readable visual chart or dashboard right there on the screen.
It collapses a 5-day BI project into 10 seconds of computation. But here is a critical detail from the source that we really cannot gloss over.
Security.
Oh, security is everything here.
Enterprise data, government data, financial data, it is highly, highly sensitive. You cannot just take your company's proprietary financial history and upload it to a public commercial AI model.
And people have tried, to their absolute detriment. The transcript specifically mentions an anecdote that sent absolute shockwaves through the corporate world recently. Oh yeah, the accounting firms.
Right. Employees at massive Big Four accounting firms were actually fired because they were taking highly confidential, deeply sensitive client financial data and pasting it into public commercial LLMs just to help them summarize it faster.
They were basically handing their massive corporate clients' deepest financial secrets over to a public AI, incorporating it into the public training data. Complete disaster.
It is a total breach of confidentiality and a massive legal liability. And this is exactly why Aries Insight is engineered differently. Insight operates entirely locally. It is deployed directly onto the company's own secure servers or private cloud
It
instance.
has zero connection to external commercial LLMs. The data never leaves the building. The AI agent lives inside the fortress with the data. It ensures total enterprise-grade security while providing bleeding-edge AI analysis.
So what does this actually mean for the day-to-day life of a business leader? It means the traditional reporting bottleneck is dead. You no longer wait 5 business days for a critical report for a board meeting.
Picture this. You are sitting in the board meeting. A board member throws a curveball question about inventory depreciation versus revenue in a very specific, obscure region. Instead of saying, "I'll have my team get back to you next week," you can literally ask the AI via voice right there and project the generated chart onto the screen 10 seconds later.
Think about how that fundamentally democratizes data within an organization. For decades, data was locked behind the high priests of the IT department or the BI analysts. Marketing didn't understand finance's data structures, and finance didn't understand IT's data structures.
Now, any authorized leader can interrogate the central nervous system of the company using natural human language. Marketing, finance, and operations can finally speak the exact same language based on the exact same real-time truth.
It is incredible. Insight allows a human to talk directly to their messy data, but that is still human-to-AI interaction.
Right. The final layer discussed in the source, the true mind-bending frontier of agentic AI, is when the AI agents start talking to each other.
This brings us to Aries Console, and grasping this requires a significant shift in how you conceptualize software.
We are moving way past the idea of one AI answering your question. Aries Console is not designed for human-to-AI interaction in the traditional sense. It's an AI designed to oversee and manage other specialized AI agents.
Console acts as the maestro, or essentially the AI CEO. Its entire job is to regulate the communication protocols, the workflows, and even the debates between different departmental AI agents.
Let's walk through the specific use cases provided in the text because they perfectly illustrate this leap from tool to colleague. The first use case is calculating the true ROI, the return on investment, of a single employee.
Which is a notoriously difficult, complex question to answer in a big company because the data is everywhere. If a human CEO asks Aries Console, what is the true ROI of employee John Doe? Oh, Console doesn't just run a basic search query.
No, it orchestrates a high-level digital conversation. It acts as the delegator, breaking the massive problem into specialized tasks.
Exactly. Console goes to the HR agent and says, pull John Doe's salary, his benefits cost, his training expenses, and his performance KPI data. Then Console turns to the finance agent and says, pull the overall company revenue data, the overhead costs associated with John's specific department, and the current profit margins.
Then it goes to the sales agent and says, pull the exact revenue numbers for the specific deals John closed this quarter.
But here is the critical leap. They don't just dump raw data back to the human. The agents actually discuss and synthesize the information based on their specialized parameters.
Wait, how does that work?
Well, the finance agent might look at the data and point out that while John's gross sales numbers are high, the profit margin on the specific tech products he is selling is lower than the company average. The HR agent might point out that his training costs were unusually high this quarter.
They mathematically debate the metrics, synthesize a conclusion, and Console presents the human CEO with one definitive, highly contextualized executive summary of John's true value to the bottom line.
Let's look at the second use case. Drafting a legal contract. This one is wild. Let's say you need to draft a complex new scope of work and contract for a massive tech infrastructure client.
In the old world, a draft goes from the tech team to the legal team, sits on a lawyer's desk for a week, goes to the finance team for pricing, gets marked up in red ink, goes back to tech because finance priced out the wrong servers. It takes weeks of agonizing email chains.
With Console, the human just requests the contract. Console initiates a digital war room. It tells the legal agent to scan local compliance laws and draft the watertight boilerplate language.
The legal agent passes that draft to the tech agent. The tech agent reads it, understands the client's needs, and injects the exact technical scope of work, server requirements, and infrastructure timelines. Then it goes to the finance agent.
The finance agent reviews the tech requirements and prices it out based on current company margins and hardware costs. And if the finance agent says, wait, this tech scope is too expensive for the price we usually quote, the tech and finance agents will literally debate and adjust the parameters.
The tech agent might suggest a cheaper server architecture, and finance recalculates. They iterate until console determines the contract is perfect, legally compliant, technically sound, and profitable.
All happening in milliseconds. And we must clearly distinguish this from how people currently use something like standard ChatGPT, because I know people are listening to this thinking, I can just do that with ChatGPT.
You cannot. It is a completely different architecture. With a standard commercial LLM, a human user has to manually execute what we call multi-prompting. You have to upload the legal document, write a prompt asking the AI to review it, then you have to upload the financial spreadsheet in a separate prompt and try to get the AI to cross-reference the two.
You, the human, are doing the manual labor of connecting the dots. And the AI frequently forgets the context of the first document by the time you upload the third. You are micromanaging the machine.
Aries Console uses native, secure, real-time company data, and it performs the multi-step reasoning and cross-departmental synthesis autonomously without you holding its hand.
It's like the difference between buying materials at Home Depot to build a house yourself versus hiring a general contractor. If you just use standard AI chatbots, you are building the house. You have to figure out the plumbing, the electrical wiring, the framing, and how they all fit together.
But Console is the general contractor. You, the homeowner, just say, build me a house. Console's the one on the job site yelling at the plumber, the finance agent, and the electrician, the tech agent, to make sure their wires and pipes don't cross. You just get the keys to the finished house.
That analogy is spot on, and it highlights how this technology fundamentally shifts the organizational chart of the future. We're rapidly approaching a reality where human employees will not just be using software, they will be working side by side with digital agents, and entire workflows will be managed by digital maestros. It redefines what it means to manage a team.
Let's just take a second to absorb that. We aren't talking about you giving a prompt to a machine to write an email. We are talking about setting up a digital boardroom, closing the door, and letting the machines debate company policy and draft legal documents based on your real-time data. That is a terrifyingly massive leap from where we were just 24 months ago.
It is profound, and it forces us to reconsider how we prepare the next generation for the workforce.
Which brings us to a massive, looming question. Seeing how incredibly rapidly this technology is advancing, moving from simple chatbots to autonomous maestro agents in just a couple of years, how on earth should a young person prepare for this future? How do you build a resilient career when the ground beneath your feet is shifting this fast?
Ahmad Obaidat's advice in the interview regarding education is frankly a bombshell.
It really is. Yeah. He has this direct advice for Gen Z and the incoming generation Alpha. He says, point blank, do not major in artificial intelligence at university.
Coming from the highly successful founder of an AI company, that is a jarring statement. But his reasoning brilliantly dissects a major flaw in traditional four-year academia.
He explains that current university AI programs are largely training students to be AI developers, meaning people who write the specific code and syntax for current AI models. They are not training AI engineers.
The distinction is crucial. The technology is moving so incredibly fast, he compares it to the early chaotic days of digital marketing, that the specific coding languages, the tools, and the frameworks you learn in your freshman year will be entirely obsolete by the time you graduate 4 years later.
You are spending 4 years learning the mechanical operation of a hammer, and by the time you graduate, the entire industry is exclusively using pneumatic nail guns. You've memorized temporary syntax instead of learning how to fundamentally build.
So what is the alternative path? He strongly advises studying foundational engineering disciplines, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, or his background, nuclear engineering, or broad computer science.
Why those fields specifically?
Because those disciplines do not teach you fleeting software tools. They teach you raw, unforgiving problem solving. They force you to master rigorous, complex mathematics, physics, and structural logic. They wire your brain to deconstruct massive, overwhelming physical problems into solvable, sequential components. You learn how to think, not just what buttons to press.
Exactly. You get the hard foundation. Then, he says, you learn AI on the side.
Yeah.
You take fast, adaptable 6-month online courses. You read the daily newsletters. You stay up to date constantly.
He points out a fascinating dynamic, actually. A non-technical person, or someone with a broad horizontal knowledge of business strategy and engineering logic, will very often build a significantly better AI company than a pure AI coder who lacks business vision.
If you only know how to write vertical code, you only see code.
Yeah.
If you know how a business fundamentally operates, you see human problems that need solving.
This naturally transitions into his philosophy on entrepreneurship itself, which is equally unvarnished. He completely strips away all the glamorous Silicon Valley mythology of the visionary genius.
Oh, it is brutal. He states it as a law of physics. 100% of startups fail, but 5% of founders don't give up.
It's a profound redefinition of success. He is arguing that being a founder is not some glamorous, calculated career choice that you strategically map out on a whiteboard after getting an MBA. It is often a default state for a specific, almost compulsory type of personality.
He talks about his own restlessness.
Mm.
Before AI, he worked in retail, he worked in airport operations, he worked in the tourism sector. He simply could not sit still in one traditional job.
Mm.
Entrepreneurship wasn't a desire for a fancy title or a corner office. It was the only container that could hold his restless drive to fix broken systems.
And when you are building a company out of that restlessness, especially a deep tech company, the dynamic at the very top of the leadership chain becomes the single point of failure or success. He heavily highlights the critical relationship between the CEO, the visionary, and the CTO, the chief technology officer who actually builds the product.
He says a CEO must focus on the horizon, the vision, the market fit, the people, the sales, but, and this is a massive but, the CEO must possess enough technical background to share a common language with their CTO.
If the CEO does not understand the underlying architecture of the technology, even at a broad conceptual level, they cannot understand its limitations. And if you don't understand the limitations of your own tech, you make wild promises to the market that you can't keep, or you fail to push the tech to its actual boundaries because you don't know what it's capable of.
The company's growth will inevitably stall because the visionary and the builder are speaking two entirely different dialects.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to jump back to that startup quote because I think it hits hard. Isn't it incredibly discouraging to tell young, ambitious people that you're essentially guaranteed to fail as an entrepreneur? 100% of startups fail? That is a tough, bleak pill to swallow.
I don't think he means it to be discouraging. I think he intends it to be psychological armor. Yeah. If you go into entrepreneurship expecting a smooth upward trajectory because you have a brilliant idea, the first major setback will completely shatter you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
By accepting that failure is the default state of any new venture, you fundamentally shift your metric of success. It is no longer about how hard you can hit the market on launch day. It is entirely about how many hits you can take from the market, recalibrate your strategy, and keep moving forward when your resources are almost entirely depleted.
The 5% who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest or the best coders. They are simply the ones who refuse to stay down when the 100% failure rate came knocking.
It's a war of attrition. You survive long enough to get lucky and get it right.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's briefly recap this incredible arc we've traced through Ahmad Obaidat's insights. We started with his transition from the zero-tolerance, highly physical world of nuclear engineering to the statistical frontier of AI, driven by the absolute friction of having to mail-order coding books to Jordan.
We decoded the three eras of AI, arriving at the current Agentic era, where AI acts as an autonomous colleague rather than a static tool.
We then looked at how Aries AI is deploying this autonomy in the real world. We explored Aries Reach, which is turning the antiquated customer suggestion box into a real-time, voice-activated, dialect-translating intelligence network that intercepts claims and stops negative reviews before the customer even leaves the parking lot.
Then we looked inside the corporate fortress with Aries Insight, showing how CEOs can bypass the entire agonizing business intelligence bottleneck by simply talking securely to their messy, decades-old legacy databases.
And finally, we blew the roof off the traditional organizational chart with Aries Console, the AI maestro that manages digital agents as they autonomously negotiate, debate, and synthesize complex data across departments. And we anchored all of this in Ahmad's hard truths. Don't major in fleeting AI tools, master fundamental problem solving, and expect failure as the sheer price of entry for entrepreneurship.
The reason you, the listener, need to internalize this is simple. Whether you are a high school student trying to choose a major that won't be obsolete in 4 years, a small business owner bleeding revenue from bad Google reviews, or a corporate executive drowning in data silos you can't read, This agentic shift is happening right now.
Understanding that AI is no longer just a superpowered search engine but an autonomous digital workforce is the only way to ensure you are the one managing the technology rather than being managed or replaced by it.
It is the difference between learning to ride the wave and getting crushed by it.
And that leaves us with one final provocative thought to chew on. We talked about Aries Console, the internal maestro that allows your company's legal agent and finance agent to debate and negotiate with each other to draft a perfect internal contract.
Yes, the digital war room.
Well, think about where this goes next. What happens in 3 or 4 years when your company's AI maestro has to negotiate a massive vendor contract directly with a rival company's AI maestro? There are no humans in the room, just two autonomous, highly protective, infinitely fast digital CEOs analyzing billions of data points trying to out-leverage each other for the best margins. Who wins when two mathematically perfect algorithms go head-to-head in a zero-sum negotiation?
That is the ultimate frontier, and it will require an entirely new paradigm of human oversight to ensure those machines are actually negotiating in our best interests.
It's a fascinating, slightly terrifying thought. But the landscape will always be murky, and the future is never fully written. The tools we are building now, these agentic AI systems, they are the most powerful flashlights we've ever invented to navigate that dark. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay curious. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.